So I'm really nervous to start off with how I'm doing. I do public speaking at most often these days, but I'm nervous when I go there too. So my name is Amy Frank. I'm a visual artist. My work is on display this month at your church. I have my partner Dave filming me, but he won't film anyone but me. So yeah, you might want to not.
But it's good to know that there are people here. Because right here, you could be talking to yourself right now.
That's true.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, so as I kind of messed up already, but that's okay. So I do public speaking at Camosun about my journey with mental illness. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, is my journey with mental illness and with art. And I'm going to combine your theme, love and justice. So when I was 18, in 2004, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. For those of you who are unaware of what bipolar disorder is, it's a mental illness that's categorized as a mood disorder. Its symptoms are manic or hypomanic highs that swing down to devastating or suicidal lows. It is also known as manic depression. I would like to note that some parts of this speech may be verbally graphic due to the nature of the mental health medical system, and this presentation may not be suitable for everyone. But I don't see any children, so that's good. Last year I came across an interesting study about rats and addiction. Some of you may have heard of it. The study struck a chord with me, as addiction is something I've struggled with throughout my life. In this study, they would place an isolated rat in an empty cage, and they would offer regular water and water laced with hard drugs. Every time they would do this, the rat would drink the drug-laced water until it died. This became our theory of addiction, that once you try a hard drug, you will go back to it until it destroys your life, cripples you, or kills you. Another researcher came along and said, is this really an accurate portrayal of addiction? You put a rat in an empty cage, it has nothing to do but drink the laced water. This second researcher decided to build a rat haven. The haven had everything a rat could want. It had food, it had tons of other rats to be friends with and play with and mate with. It had toys and lots of space to run around and play. They gave the rats the choice again of choosing the regular water or the water laced with drugs. Although the rats would try the drug-laced water, they wouldn't go back to it. The findings in the study were that addiction is not a moral failing, and it's not something that takes you over and hijacks your brain. Addiction is largely an adaptation to your environment. It has to do with which cage you're in. In my life, I have seen my mental illness as a cage, and honestly, at some points it has been. Mental illness led me to drug abuse, as drugs were a way to cope with my symptoms. As I grow, however, I've come to see that the true cage is not mental illness. The true cage is the stigma that surrounds it. I've been in and out of the medical system since I was 15. I've been in and out of regular hospitals to heal my self-harm and suicide attempts, and I've been in and out of psychiatric hospitals to heal my mind. A hospital can be a cruel place for addicts and the mentally ill. There is stigma even amongst doctors and nurses. When I was the most suicidal, which was in my teens, I was told by a few different physicians in the emergency room that I was wasting their time and taking space away from patients who really needed it. I'm not sure how those doctors can stitch up chunks of flesh slashed out from a wrist or feed someone charcoal so they vomit out the poison they've ingested and think you are taking precious space away from the people who really need it. At times like those, I wish I'd lost my arm instead of my mind, so the doctors would treat me compassionately. My last admittance to a psychiatric hospital to this day was in 2004 at the age of 18. That's when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I started my presentation with the story of the rats and the experience of how mentally ill can sometimes be treated in regular hospitals because of the theme, love and justice. Unfortunately, in the realms of current affairs these days, and in the area of mental illness, there is a lot of injustice, stigma, and a lack of love and compassion. Today, I am 30 years old. I have unclear memories of my childhood, but I remember water balloon fights and lemonade stands. This was before everyone had the internet, so my friends and I would put on plays from the neighborhood in the summertime to entertain ourselves. I remember loving art and always trying to draw characters from Archie and Marvel comic books. My parents supported my interest in art by placing me into all kinds of art classes and art camps. In these art classes, I learned to draw the world as I saw it before me. I had friends and I had good family, but I remember being sad. I was bullied by my peers in elementary school. I have an astigmatism in my right eye, so I had to wear a patch over my good eye to strengthen my weak eye. Kids would call me a pirate, and when I finally got glasses, they called me Four Eyes. These may sound like harmless names, but by 14 I entered junior high school and the bullying got much worse. I coped by writing poetry about magical places, loneliness, and an ever-growing depression. As a young teenager, I had close friends at school, but I struggled with an unhappiness that no one knew about. I began to self-medicate with alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, and soon I began to self-harm. The bullying got worse when my self-harm became known at school. A certain group of boys would hand me bottles of painkillers and tell me to kill myself because no one wanted me around. These same boys would throw pennies at me and call me a whore, and in private they would hit on me. By age 15, I was labeled as a troublemaker. I now talk back to my parents and teachers. I didn't do my schoolwork, I skipped classes, and was constantly smoking on or near school property, getting detentions. I was sick, but it was seen as a rebellion. By age 15, my quote-unquote rebellious nature was strong. I was so unhappy. All I wanted to do was drink, smoke cigarettes, and smoke pot in peace. But I was a teenager with loving and concerned parents. The tension between myself and my desires, and my parents and their desires for me, grew strong. So at age 15, I left home. I couch surfed mostly, going from friend's house to friend's house, and sometimes rarely I would sleep in parks, curled up beneath my jacket. I still attempted to go to school, and I began harder drug use, which led to overpowering suicidal feelings. At age 15, I had my first major suicide attempt. When released from the regular hospital, I had my first of many psychiatric hospitalizations. After being discharged from the psychiatric hospital, I was expelled from my junior high school, being told I was a disruption to my peers. I was placed into the alternative school system. I continued to write privately in journals and started penning doodles in my classes in the alternative school instead of working on my schoolwork. I found it hard to concentrate on my studies when I honestly didn't know if I'd live long enough to see tomorrow. Art and writing, alongside self-harm, drugs, and alcohol, were how I made the days bearable. Those were the ways that I coped. At age 15, while enrolled in the alternative school system, I met two influential people who my relationships with would impact me to this day. The first person I met was a psychologist named Dr. Hobson Underwood. Although I no longer lived at home, my parents were deeply concerned about my well-being, so they hired Dr. Hobson Underwood to counsel me. I am one of the fortunate few whose parents could afford to hire a therapist. The second person I met was my current psychiatrist, Dr. Gunn. Although I no longer see a psychologist, I've been seeing Dr. Gunn for 15 years now. He, alongside my friends and family, has seen my struggle as well as my growth. I am fortunate to have my psychiatrist, Dr. Gunn, in my life. He acts as a counselor to me, does not force medications on me, and he always lets me decide in which direction I would like my treatment to go. I am fortunate because this is not always the case in mental illness. Because I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals so much as a youth, I have many friends who struggle with their mental health. Many of the psychiatrists my friends see do not offer counseling. They only spend 10 to 20 minutes with them to review their medications. Many, if not most, of my friends have no voice in their treatment. Dr. Gunn, on the other hand, gives an hour-long session to every patient. I'm a true believer that the mental health medical system is broken. Therapy is not covered in mental health. It costs money in the hundreds of dollars, while drugs are free. Many people I've met who struggle with their mental health and or addictions feel scarred and broken. I think more often than not, patients need more than medications. They also need someone to talk to who will genuinely listen to them. I remained in the alternative school system for 2 years. With the help of my psychiatrist, my psychologist, and some other wonderful people I met on my journey, I cleaned up my act and eventually returned to the regular school system in hopes of graduating. By this time I was 17 and I had an apartment I was living in by myself. I enrolled myself into Victoria High School. Unfortunately, living on my own was isolating, kind of like that first cage of rats. And my life experiences thus far made me feel distant and separated from my peers at Vic High. I couldn't relate to the other students, so I had very few friends at school, and I began to use hard drugs again. I started off with the best intentions, but soon I was skipping my classes for days and weeks on end. When I showed up, I was almost always late for class. When I was late for class, I would receive a late slip from the teacher that had to be signed by the principal. 3 late slips equaled detention. Vic High's principal at the time was a man named Keith Forshaw. When I would be late, I'd stand in line in the long line of all the other tardy students and wait for my slip to be signed. When my turn would come, Mr. Forshaw would get up out of his chair and he would come over and shake my hand. Every time I was late, he would do this, and he would say, "Amy, I know you're going through a lot. Thank you for being here today." As a youth, I felt like my teachers, principals, and parents held punishments over my head. I got detentions, groundings, and expulsion. I never did receive a detention from Mr. Forshaw. He simply thanked me every time for making the effort to show up. Unfortunately, even with the kindness of Mr. Forshaw and some of the teachers at Vic High, and with the aid of my therapist and psychiatrist, my drug use and depression still prevailed. I'm going to skip ahead now to where I am in life now. So where am I now in February of 2017? So I'm alive, and that's a big one. I never thought I'd live to see my 20s, let alone be standing here at 30. I'm stable and clean, and I've been self-employed since 2011 as a visual artist. As you can see my work around you, some of it. I've been somewhat successful in my career as a visual artist. I've been accepted into juried shows and events like the Moss Street Painting and the Stupid Sydney Fine Arts Show. I receive commissions, which means people hire me to do the art they want me to do. I'm in retail locations around Victoria. I was featured in Focus magazine with my art on the cover, and I've received a licensing contract from a jigsaw puzzle company. But most importantly, with my art, I advocate for mental health awareness. I do this through my personal website. I do it through card descriptions, which you can read on the back of my cards over there. And I do it through public speaking and talking at events like this. But how did I get here? How did I go from being isolated in a cage to feeling like there was more to my life? Sorry, I'm shaking a bit, sorry guys. Art is something I'm good at. Because I became sick when I was so young, I never did graduate, and I had and have to this day no real work experience outside of my self-employment. After my last psychiatric hospitalization at age 18, I crashed into a deep depression. By this time, my drug use had gotten me locked out of the apartment I was living in on my own. I was forced to return home on the condition that I could live in my parents' basement suite. By now, I was experiencing drug psychosis, which means going crazy because of drugs. So I thought ghosts and spirits were haunting me. I could no longer function in society, but life cost money, and I was now 19, so I applied and eventually received disability status with the ministry. The depression got worse. I stopped doing art, and I stopped writing. My parents saw my collapse and never demanded that I look for work, but they requested that as long as I lived in their basement suite, that I try to volunteer. In my early 20s, although my health was poor, I began a volunteer position with the Beacon Hill Petting Zoo. Working with the animals acted as therapy. I was ashamed though. I didn't tell anyone about my diagnosis or my past. 2 years later, I began a volunteer position with high-risk youth on the streets of Victoria. It was a program created by the Youth Empowerment Society. I only lasted a few weeks there, unfortunately, as working with the troubled youth was too close to home. And although I was clean, I still struggled with my mental health. I decided after that I still wanted to have an impact on youth, so I registered myself to be a Grow Guide leader. I was a Grow Guide leader for 6 years, from age 22 to 27. I loved it, but my past haunted me. I was fearful that if anyone knew that I was bipolar or knew about my former drug use, that I would be told I was not fit to work with children. In my first year of being a Girl Guide leader, I so badly didn't want to carry the burden of secrecy that I was carrying that then, at age 22, I purchased the website domain www.amyfrank.ca. I built my first website myself on a template program for Macintosh called iWeb. My first website was called The Mind of Amy Frank, and like my current website, it featured my art from being a teenager, my stories so far, and my writing. I've actually built every website to this day by myself, from different template programs over the years. In 2011, when I was 25, my life changed. I got into a relationship that would be a source of growth and strength. I'm no longer in that particular relationship, but it was a changing point in my life. I started doing art again. In my youth, I was taught to draw the world as I saw it before me. I was taught to use graphite, charcoal, and pastels. But I was self-taught as a teenager to use pens and colored pencils in my work, because those were the tools I readily had available in my classes that I could doodle with. When I began drawing again, I started by creating pen and ink, black and white trees filled with complex patterns. I later discovered that these patterns were a spin-off from an art style called Zentangle. I moved from black and white trees to drawing animals. I began to mix the black and white patterns in next to the colors and shapes of the animals. I did this because I would get so stimulated when playing with composition and color. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't want to sleep, I wouldn't want to take bathroom breaks. I would just want to work for hours and hours and hours on end. So I started incorporating the patterns because they eased me. They would take my creative mind from mania to a calm, repetitive motion, pattern after pattern. This has become my trademark art style. My style may be admired by some and disliked by others, but to me, it is my therapy. By age 27, 2 years after starting my business, I felt stuck. I didn't know anything about art as a business. All I knew was that I loved creating and that people were interested in buying my work. I decided to look back into schooling. Through mental health, I received an education coach who was also an artist as a side passion/career. He admired my work, and in 2013, at age 27, he helped me get funding to pay for a course at the Vancouver Island School of Art called Professional Development. It was a course on how to become a professional artist. I learned a lot in it, but I hated it. I have issues around school, and I struggled with the course, but I completed it. In 2015, again, I'd taken my art business as far as I could on my own. I was now in some retail outlets. I'd been accepted into the Moss Street Painted, and I was accepted into a wonderful organization of people called the Island Illustrators Society. But again, I was stuck. In the late spring of 2015, at age 29, I applied for a business course that was put on by the government called Youth Being Business. The course was for young entrepreneurs age 18 to 29, so I was just young enough to be in the course. It had a very lengthy application process. I had to prove that I had a viable business. In the course, I was offered $5,000 in funding to complete it. To complete the course, I had to write a viable business plan and present it in front of a panel of successful entrepreneurs. Through the program, I received a volunteer mentor who continues to mentor me and support me as a friend to this day. I also worked with a business coach who I'm still in touch with. In the program, I learned about branding, marketing, who's my target market, bookkeeping, business lingo like gross versus net, amongst many other things. I struggled with the course, and I struggled with the business plan because I have issues with learning at school. I pushed through though and succeeded in completing the course. Not only did I write a 27-page business plan, but I aced my panel presentation. Since finishing the business course, I've opened a studio in Fairfield. I continue to sell to retail spaces around Victoria. I do commissions, I do craft fairs and art events, and I'm starting to and I'm continuing to do public speaking at Camosun and events like this. Everything I do, I try to promote awareness around mental illness. So I offer these presentations because I have had negative experiences with mental illness and stigma. I've experienced stigma from doctors, nurses, paramedics, police officers, teachers, principals, many other authority figures, plus regular people, quote unquote. The news, our television shows, and movies support that stigma by constantly broadcasting negative stories, like when someone with post-traumatic stress disorder murders their family and then themselves. These negative portrayals of mental illness only foster fear. Over and over in my mind, when I do these presentations, I go over the question of what am I speaking for? What am I trying to say when I scream out to the world, look at me, and they look? This is it. I have experienced stigma in my life surrounding mental illness and addiction, but stigma comes in all forms. We stigmatize each other for so many other reasons, like because of race, because of differences in religious beliefs. We stigmatize people for what gender they love, or simply because of poverty. I hope that my story and presentation here today inspires others to share their own unique stories, stories that cultivate compassion, because it's not just with mental illness and addiction that these cages of stigma exist. Thank you.